Well, before I go get ready to go freeze to death tonight, well, we're going to be filming in downtown Atlanta. My call time is 5:18 p.m. And it's going to be 30 or less by the time we get finished, but it's not going to be an overnight, they say, so that'll be good for my very last time. So I'm going to go ahead and I finished chapter 23, so I'll go ahead and put that up and be done maybe for the weekend. We'll see. So Dave showed up at the Millers about 10 minutes to 3 p.m., and everyone was excited to get ready and get started and see how this recording setup would sound. It took Dave a few minutes to get over to the Millers' home, but he soon found some folks made all the right choices in life once he looked at that house. Bobby introduced Dave to everyone, and Charles Cassandra thanked him for coming on such short notice. Given the nice gear that Charles had purchased, Dave was eager to see how it was all going to sound. The university did not have any microphones as nice as these Neumanns. Cassandra, Bobby, and Diane all headed to Charles' study to get set up. Charles showed Dave his superb stereo, and he was in awe of what he saw, especially the magical M9 speakers that stood man-tall in the room. He could not wait to hear them. Bobby took his place in the left chair, Cassandra a center chair, and Diane on the right. They were about 2 feet apart, and they all took turns warming up and were just about ready to go. Dave set up the mic stands 27 inches apart and about 6 feet in front of the players and about 5 feet high to start. They would make their second and third recordings with the mics set up at 6 and 7 feet and a little further back still from the performers and see which performance they liked the best. The nice thing about Omni microphones is that they pick up from every direction, and they pick not only the performers, but they pick up the room reflections, and it's pretty much the same as what the audience would hear. Dave ran the record out cables from the Tapco into the back of the Nakamichi deck. He left the complete stereo off except for the tape deck. He had to turn on the 48 volts phantom power switch on the Tapco, as all condenser mics needed power applied to work and energize the capsules. While everyone was warming up, Dave worked at setting the levels in the Tapco and watched the metering on the Nakamichi deck to make sure it didn't go over 0 dB, as he wanted to limit the tape distortion. The tape was only running at 1 7/8 inches per second on a cassette deck, so the levels must be kept lower. Once he was set and satisfied with the sound, he gave the players a thumbs up, and they were ready as well. He gave them a hand countdown with his fingers of 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then pointed at them for them to start playing. They played as well as they had played before, and played it completely through all the 6 pages. Dave then stopped the deck and got up and moved the mic stands taller to 6 feet, and they would try again. He hit record and gave them a countdown again, and they started the second recording. Once that take was completed, he moved the mic stands up to 7 feet in height and went back to the recording desk. Dave asked if they were ready, and they were. He hit record and gave them a countdown again, and they played their last take to the end. Dave hit stop on the Nakamichi, and it was time to find out how it all went. It sounded great to Dave as he listened on the Sony MDR 7506 headphones, but he was the only one that knew that. But he really wanted to hear the sound through the magical M9s like everyone else. He asked Charles to turn on all the Macintosh gear, and the stunning blue meters on the power amp looked superb. What a stereo, Dave thought, and he realized that calling that a stereo was not doing the system justice. The three performers climbed into the love seat, and Charles moved them and moved behind them at his desk. Dave rewound the tape, hit play, and then turned the volume up to an appropriate level. Once the music level was comfortable, he joined Charles by his desk, and they all let the superb sound float over them. They were all shocked at how great the sound was, and it was mostly due to the high quality of the Neumann mics and the magical M9s and the Nakamichi deck. It sounded to everyone just like it did in the room, at least to Dave and Charles, as the players were sitting in the music when it was recorded and not really hearing what the audience hears. Now they were. They all listened to all three takes, and the height ranging from 5 to 7 feet did not seem to make too much difference, but in a large auditorium hall it might. Those mics still captured the delay of the room, which was very nice, with just a touch of the natural reverb from the reflections in the room. It sounded totally accurate to everyone there. Charles was especially impressed at how great the sound was for so little money, to him anyway. He then wished that he had bought that gear years ago, and how many memories he let go by of great music that had been played in their house. He asked help to get a second system set up in the piano room, with mics for the piano and then another pair for the performers who might play with the piano accompaniment. Dave recommended another pair of Omnis for the other players and a pair of similar mics, but unidirectional for the piano, spaced at C3 and C5, about 8 to 10 inches above the dampers inside the lid. That way they could record just the piano and add any chamber players with the other two Omni mics. He told Charles he could save some money just by using these mics into the piano room when they were needed. This current setup was just perfect for string or wind ensemble performances. Charles said he wanted to get a second Nakamichi deck for the other room, so not to have to move too much gear around. It didn't have to be as expensive as the Nakamichi he had. He also wanted another deck so he could make tape copies from the master decks. He also asked Dave if he would help train Bobby on the art of recording, so if Dave wasn't available, Bobby could handle the recording duties himself. Dave agreed. Charles called down to Cook's and gave Mr. Cook a new list of what he wanted, and he would pick it up all on Monday. Dave waited for Dave to rewind the tape again, and they listened to every take 2 more times and were all quite pleased. Even Dave was amazed at how this simple little recording setup sounded. Of course, again, the Neumann mics and the Nakamichi Dragon were a big part of the quality of the recordings. Once they were satisfied, Dave moved the mic stands over in the right corner behind the Magicos. Everyone carried their chair back into the other room. Dave rewound the cassette again in case they wanted to listen to it again after he left. Charles went and found his wallet, and he placed a $100 bill in an envelope and quietly handed it to Dave and placed a finger over his lips to indicate silence. Dave stayed quiet, folded it, and placed it in his back pocket. Dave took more time and showed Bobby the basic operation of the Tapco mixer and showed him where he set the pan controls, left and right for each of the 2 stereo channels for the microphones. The left mic was at about 10 o'clock and the right mic was at about 2 o'clock, and that gave a nice spread to the recordings left and right. Bobby got the art of recording pretty fast, but the key was to keep the recording levels at 0 or just below. He said to make sure the fan and power was on, but he would know when the mics weren't operating and there was no audio input showing on the deck's metering. When they were finished, Charles thanked Dave for his time and walked him to the door, and they said their goodbyes. Charles walked back into the study where everyone was listening again to the recordings and they just loved what they heard. Most artists are surprised to hear themselves when the recordings are well done, as this one was. Simple as it was, but excellent just the same. Bobby and Diane put up their instruments, and Charles would give them a ride home. Cassandra was going to get up and get ready for her symphony group coming tomorrow afternoon. On the way home, Charles asked Bobby if he and Diane would like to come back tomorrow and hear all the symphony players, and Bobby could then handle the recording duties. They were both excited about that. If they needed a ride, Charles would come pick them up. If one of their parents wanted to come, they were more than welcome to stay and enjoy the performance as well. They said that someone would bring them, and it was all set. Bobby and Diane were so pleased with how Saturday went, and what a great time they always had with the Millers. They knew tomorrow afternoon would be just another great day.